hit a woman?
Not their wife, not their girlfriend, not their date.
No woman should have to fear violence.
Especially not from someone they know and trust.
But that's the reality for too many women.
We have to change it.
It's up to each of us, because even one is too many.
Violence against women hurts all of us. Growing up, I was ashamed and afraid of my father when he abused my mom.
The worst abuse of power is when a man raises his hand to hurt a woman. We all have to take responsibility. So if you see someone threatening a woman, step up, speak out, and get help.
Dating violence hurts all of us. So step up and help end it. Because one is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
End the violence.
Because it's wrong.
Because one is too many.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Fantasy Jocks. Visit fantasyjocks.com, your fantasy sports superstore. Championship belts, rings, trophies, and more.
Well, I think I just reached the point where they switched my phone over. I'll explain what that means in a second. Welcome back to the Sports Fix, live across the Sports Fix Radio Network. J-Rock back with you. I've been wondering all night about this. I've never been one to adapt to the phones. As long as I can text and talk, I've always been good. But as I get more and more into doing all of this and needing to be able to do more, I was hooked up. Actually, a buddy of mine gave me a fantastic deal. I'm talking the Cavs got the Humongotron, I got the Humongo phone going. This thing is it counters the computer that I'm broadcasting the show on right now. A really nice phone. I got a good deal on it, so I had to go get it switched over and all of that. I had to leave it overnight at the phone store, and just during the break, I'm trying to send a message to BJ Rudell. My phone's been working fine all morning. Tried to send him a message to let him know that the phone was clear to give me a call, and it's bouncing back, and I'm going, oh, you know what? I bet you they just activated my new phone and forgot to tell me that when they did it, it was going to deactivate the current phone that I have. So when the show goes off the air, I'll go pick that bad boy up, and that'll be cool. Hey, actually, for those of you that follow us on social media, it will allow me to be a lot more interactive with stuff. I'll just have a lot more traveling capabilities. As you know, sometimes I'm hemmed up by my phone. No longer will have that issue going forward. So anyways, now that I've wasted your time with that, welcome back to the show. J-Rock with you. Go into the phone line, and I'll bet you BJ's going to tell me, yeah, I tried to call you when I couldn't get through and it wouldn't work. But BJ Rudell, Fantasy Football for Winners. We do this every Thursday. Don't forget, Cavs fans, Eddy Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland, going to be joining us as well, following up BJ. But right now, let's get you set to win some fantasy football, baby. It's another week coming up, and my man, BJ Rudell, joins us each and every week to get you through it. He's here live now, author of Fantasy Football for Winners, and my guest on the lines. BJ, how you doing?
Hey, J-Rock, good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Was I right about the phone thing? Did it bounce back when you tried to get a hold of me?
I actually got a call from you.
Yeah, no, that's to get you on here.
Yeah. Mystery number, and I picked up, and suddenly I'm in the studio.
That's my backup line here that I just got going here. But yeah, I'm trying to send you a text, and it just keeps giving me the little exclamation point at the top, and I'm like, what do you mean it can't send? And that's when it dawned on me. I said, oh, man, I bet you as we speak, my other phone is now activated and waiting for me to go pick it up. So whatever, man. It is what it is. But I'm actually messaging Eddy Jansen like, hey, brother, my phone's not working. Just talk to me on Facebook here, and I'll get you on the show soon enough. How's your week been, my man? How's your leagues going? I know getting into the nitty-gritty for playoff time here. How are you doing?
That's right. In one league, if I win out, I'm in the playoffs. I've got 3 weeks left in that one. And in the other one, it's an interesting league. It's sponsored by the Real Time Fantasy Sports website. It's got a lot of the bigwigs in the industry, ESPN folks, Yahoo Sports folks, people with pretty popular blogs that are a lot more popular than mine. There's 120 people altogether, and each person separated out into one of 10 divisions. So there's 12 on our own. So in each of the 12 divisions, everyone's got paid managed. So we're at the point now, through 11 weeks, the teams from each division of 12 get to the playoff. So I'm in the playoffs in total of anyone in the whole thing. And top 4 point folks, the foremost, get into the final 4 for the final 2 weeks, and it's an elimination round. So I enter in 12th place, but I'm about 150 points behind to get that 4th spot. So I got to do some major damage, and Antonio Brown is out for me because of bye. Ahmad Bradshaw got hurt. So I'm going to have to, I've been doing some digging to see what I can patch together.
And there you go. Start right there. Then I'm sure there's a lot of people in that same boat with you there. Ahmad Bradshaw goes down. There was a lot of talk that maybe Ben Tate ends up going there. He ends up going to Minnesota. A carousel here of running back situations. So start there. What is some of the stuff that you've uncovered here with where you're going to go for people that may have just lost one of their running backs?
Yeah. First of all, I wouldn't go out and rush to get Jonas Gray. What he did for a variety of even 20% repeated. I don't think he's going to get much more than about 8 points in any game the rest of the way. New England has a very tough matchup every week this season with one exception. And I think people rushing out to get Jonas Gray at the expense of some other guys are limiting themselves. One of the things I'm looking for in running backs is a guy who also catches the ball. If you're a running back and you don't have good hands and you never catch the ball, Stephen Ridley for years was like that in New England, then if your team's behind and your team decides to go for the pass, like it's completely locked out, a viable option in the passing game, then even if your team's down 20 points, your running back still is a threat to get the ball out of the backfield on a little dunk pass or, a quick 5-yard where he's blocking and then jumps out, past the blocker to catch a ball and run it down 15 yards. The idea is that you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're limiting potential points. Gray does not catch the ball. Latavius Murray, on the other hand, in Oakland does. Gray has a better chance of scoring week to week if he can get a goal line carry, but Murray has a better chance to catch balls and get receiving yards and rack up points that way. So if people were deciding between, let's say, Murray and Gray, I'd want to go with Murray for that reason alone.
While Jonas Gray's name is out there, I'm just going to go. See, I always have stories to share. You guys can just feel my pain and commiserate together with me, us people having bad football seasons. Even though I have one, since I told you I had to win out, I haven't lost since then. I have to win out and have the most ridiculous set of circumstances. I can't believe I've actually done the playoff math to see what I've got to have happen. It's the most inane set of circumstances would have to happen, and regardless, but that has nothing to do with this story. My Jonas Gray story is that I got him weeks ago when I saw it coming. I told you, I said, man, I'm going to grab this guy, and I was like, all right. And then I ran into a situation where my entire team was either on a bye week or injured as far as running backs because of just the way the season played out. And so I had to trade Jonas Gray for like Devontae Freeman just to give me somebody to play for a week to give me 10 points at running back or whatever. And he got me 8 that week. So I was like, okay, whatever. It's better than the nothing that I would have gotten. But the point is of course, the next week, Jonas Gray drops 43. And I'm like, well, of course, because that's what happens, man. I sit Anton Smith when he plays, and I play him when he sits. And so on and so forth. But yeah, so I had him, and of course I traded him and watched him sit on somebody else's bench. And at least they didn't start him. That would have been even worse. But, my season's turned around. I told you, I built that squad for the second half. The problem is that I only won 2 games in the first half of the season, and so it doesn't matter. I can win games from now until next fantasy football season and probably not make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, 8th place isn't going to help you.
Well, I'm fighting for the ring, baby. That's all. 8th place
That's
is fine
right.
with me because the top 6 are fighting for the belt. Everybody else is fighting for the ring. As I said, I've won dozens and dozens of those championship belts over the course of my life, man. I'm gonna take the ring, and then I can just walk around, and Jimmy Johnson people in meetings. I could just be like, excuse me. Yeah, okay, I finished in the second half of the tournament, but I still won something. What do you got? What do you got to show? No, I'm just kidding. But I just like the idea of dropping the ring on the table and going, look at that. Look at that. Hi, all right, let's talk about some stuff, my man. By the way, I just have to mention this because we brought it up last week, talking about I asked you about the DraftKings. Man, I will say this, Le'Veon Bell, he almost did it for me the other day. If he had scored a couple of touchdowns with that game that he had, I would have won $10,000, man. I mean, it was, I instantly said, well, this is where problems come from using this website right here, because I'm gonna quickly get addicted to this stuff right there, man. And but that's the evils of it, because I found myself sitting there glued to a Steelers game, watching a Steelers running back and going, man, boy, I hope he scores again. Boy, I hope Pittsburgh scores again, you know. But I'll tell you, it is amazing, man. It is the level of that, and man, I'll tell you though, a lot of fun to be had in the week to week, and then you don't end up wanting to strangle people when you lose your guys and they're out for the season like we've had here. Let's look at some of the stuff going on this week. Let's start right here in Cleveland. We just mentioned Ben Tate. He comes out. That makes Terrence West and Isaiah Crowell in deeper leagues more valuable. Tate now moves on to Minnesota, where he'll probably, I think, short term, he may have some red zone value, because I think that may be what he fills in for a lot in Minnesota, at least right now. And then obviously the other X factor coming in Cleveland this week, Josh Gordon returns to fantasy football. But is he, everybody's looking at last year, do you see him as being viable not only for the next 6 weeks, but this week against Atlanta?
Yeah, you know, if Cleveland were 3-7, I would say, you know, I would be hesitant about what Gordon's role would be. Cleveland right now is playing not just for a playoff spot, but for playoff position. And they're going to use, in my opinion, Josh Gordon in a way that any team looking at get into the playoffs, maybe doing some damage, just play him as much as he can. The guy led the league in receiving last year, despite playing only 14 to win, and a couple other things happening away from after this week being in first place in the division. So if it were me, and of course I don't claim to be anywhere close to that world, but if it were me, I would turn Josh Gordon loose and let him do his thing, because that's what worked so well last year. And the fact is, you don't have Jordan Cameron this year, but you have other guys who are playing a little beyond what people expected. Hawkins, Gabriel, Benjamin, even Austin are all contributing. Hawkins more than the others, but all of them contributing. And Josh Gordon seems to be more than the icing on the cake. He is the cake. So you just feed him the ball and hope that he does what he did last year. As far as running backs, I'm higher on West than Crowell. Trying to predict which running back is going to dominate each week is nearly impossible. I mean, it's like picking which New England receiver is going to be the lead receiver in a given week. Whether it's Edelman or Gronkowski or LaFell or even Tim Wright one week. So, in my opinion, Terrence West is more suited to be the lead back. And I think Crowell will settle in to be more of a change of pace. Right now, Crowell has more value. I think there's a perception that he's the lead guy. But for the fantasy playoffs, I'd rather have West.
Yeah, and I hear you there, man. I think, and I'll tell you what you just talked about with either guy, that to me is Gordon's fantasy impact more, at least in the first couple of weeks. And I could be wrong. Hey, he came in first week against Minnesota, and him and Hoyer went to work right off the bat. And in his 2 games, he had 2 games and 7 snaps with Hoyer. I think they had 14 receptions for a couple hundred yards. So, I mean, clearly he was heavily targeted, and so you will see some work there. But I think he pays dividends if you have West or Crow, like you were just talking about, because the 1 in 10 is going to have to cover him, and you're going to have protection over the top. So that's going to loosen up the running lanes for West and Crowell. The problem is what you said, being here, covering the team. Good luck figuring out, because the team does a good job of switching it up week to week. You really have no clue who's going to get it, and that's good if you're looking at it from the aspect of the other team not knowing how to prepare. But you getting ready for fantasy football, good luck figuring out which. You might as well flip a coin, because you don't know which one is going to really be the featured back from week to week, and I expect that to continue. But both backs, I think, will loosen up and get a little more production with Gordon being in there. I think he'll be – this week, I'm thinking you'll get an idea for how much fantasy impact Gordon